The first dawnlight crept over the edge of the forest, casting a warm glow over the trees. Olafr Embergrove stood at the forest's edge, his axe slung over his shoulder, ready to begin another day's work. The air was crisp and clean, filled with the scent of pine and the distant call of a bird. As he walked into the forest, the trees seemed to loom over him, their branches creaking softly in the morning breeze. The sunlight filtering through the leaves created a dappled pattern on the forest floor, and the sound of a nearby stream burbled softly in the distance. Olafr felt a sense of peace wash over him, the familiar rhythm of his work a comforting presence. He had been a woodcutter for as long as he could remember, and the forest was his home. The rustle of small animals through the underbrush and the chirping of birds in the trees added to the sense of tranquility. But today, something felt off. A faint sense of unease settled in the pit of his stomach, like a stone dropped into a still pond. He couldn't quite put his finger on it, but the feeling lingered, a subtle discord in the familiar melody of his day. The trees seemed to stand a little taller, their branches a little closer, as if they were watching him. Olafr shook his head, trying to clear the feeling, but it only seemed to intensify as he walked deeper into the forest. The scent of damp earth and moss filled his nostrils, and the sound of leaves crunching beneath his feet was the only sound that broke the silence. As he walked, the trees grew closer, their trunks thicker, their roots twisting into grasping fingers. The air grew heavier, the scent of pine and earth growing stronger, and Olafr felt himself being drawn into the forest's depths. Olafr's workbench stood at the edge of the forest, a sturdy wooden table where he could lay out his tools and store his timber. Today, a book lay open on the workbench, its pages fluttering gently in the breeze. The cover was old and worn, the leather cracked and faded, but the pages were filled with words that seemed to dance in the morning light. The words were familiar, yet strange, like a language he had forgotten but still understood. As he read, the words seemed to weave a spell around him, drawing him in with a rhythm that matched the beat of his own heart. The forest around him grew quieter, the trees standing still, their branches motionless, as if they too were listening to the words. The air seemed to thicken, the scent of pine and earth growing heavier, as if the forest itself was leaning in to hear the tale. Olafr felt a sense of wonder, of discovery, as he turned the pages, the words unfolding like a map to a hidden treasure. But the more he read, the more he felt a creeping sense of dread, a feeling that he was being pulled into a darkness that lurked just beyond the edge of the forest. The shadows seemed to deepen, the trees growing taller, their branches twisting into grotesque shapes that seemed to reach out to snatch at his clothes. Olafr's heart began to pound, his breath coming in short gasps, as he felt himself being drawn into the book's dark world. The trees seemed to loom over him, their branches creaking softly, as if warning him away from the book. But Olafr couldn't resist. He felt an overwhelming urge to continue reading, to uncover the secrets that lay hidden within the pages. The words seemed to shift and change, rearranging themselves on the page like a puzzle, and Olafr felt his mind reeling as he tried to keep up with the rhythm of the book. As the days passed, Olafr found himself drawn back to the book again and again. The words seemed to shift and change, rearranging themselves on the page like a puzzle. He began to feel a sense of inevitability, as if the book was drawing him into a pattern that he couldn't escape. The forest seemed to be changing too, the trees growing closer, their branches tangling together like skeletal fingers. The air grew colder, the shadows deepening into dark pools that seemed to move of their own accord. Olafr felt like he was being hunted, like something was stalking him through the trees. He heard the sound of tools moving on their own, the clang of metal on metal, the creak of wood bending and twisting. The rhythm of the forest was changing, the beat growing faster, more insistent. He felt like he was being pulled into a dance that would lead him to his own destruction. The book seemed to be the key, the catalyst that had set the pattern in motion. And Olafr was trapped, unable to escape the rhythm of the forest, the beat of the book. The trees seemed to be closing in, their branches reaching out to snatch at his clothes, their trunks growing thicker, their roots twisting into grasping fingers. The air was filled with the scent of decay, the sound of rotting wood, and the feel of damp earth. Olaf's heart was racing, his breath coming in short gasps as he tried to escape the forest's deadly rhythm. But every step he took, every move he made, seemed to be drawn into the pattern, the dance of death that the book had set in motion. The forest was a labyrinth, and Olafr was lost, unable to find his way out. The book was his only guide, but it seemed to be leading him deeper into the heart of the forest, further into the darkness that lurked within. The edge of the forest was silent, the trees standing like sentinels, their branches bare and still. Olafr lay on the ground, his axe buried in his own thigh, the dust pulling around him like a dark mirror. The forest seemed to be performing its own work, the trees moving, the branches twisting, the air filling with a cold, dark energy. The book lay open beside him, the pages fluttering gently in the breeze, the words still dancing, still weaving their spell. Olafr felt a sense of peace, a sense of release, as the darkness closed in around him. He was finally part of the pattern, finally trapped in the rhythm of the forest. The silence was oppressive, the stillness a heavy blanket that suffocated him. The only sound was the soft rustle of the pages, the gentle whisper of the words, as the book continued to weave its spell. Olaf's vision began to fade, his eyes growing dim, as the darkness consumed him. The forest seemed to be waiting, its trees standing like guardians, their branches reaching out to claim him. The book was the last thing he saw, its pages still turning, its words still whispering as the darkness took him. The edge of the forest was silent, the trees standing like sentinels, their branches bare and still. Embergrove stood at the edge of the forest, her eyes fixed on the book, her heart pounding in her chest. She felt a sense of trepidation, a sense of fear as she reached out to touch the pages. The words seemed to dance in the morning light, the rhythm of the forest still echoing through the trees. Yara's hand hovered over the book, her fingers trembling with anticipation. She felt a sense of wonder, of discovery, as she gazed at the pages, the words unfolding like a map to a hidden treasure. The forest seemed to be waiting, its trees standing like guardians, their branches reaching out to claim her. Yara's heart was racing, her breath coming in short gasps as she felt herself being drawn into the book's dark world. She hesitated, her hand hovering over the pages as if unsure of what she was getting herself into. But the words seemed to be calling to her, the rhythm of the forest drawing her in, and she felt herself being pulled into the same pattern that had consumed Olafr.